Part 40. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 392. Turning oneself into half human and half ghost, or simply turning into a ghost with human consciousness, is a self-rescue method proposed by the Supernatural Circle. Especially for 4-star players who have controlled 3 fierce ghosts, as the difficulty of the game copy increases, they become increasingly weak. The number of times the supernatural needs to be used is also increasing. If this continues, unless they control the 4th ghost, they will never be able to pass the horror game. Because of this, some people have proposed ways to transform themselves into alien beings. Since the human body cannot allow them to pass the horror game, they become ghosts and become ghosts with human consciousness. In this way, no matter how they use their supernatural powers, they will no longer be threatened by the resurgence of evil spirits, which will greatly improve their own strength. Half human and half ghost is a stage before transforming into a stranger. Just like the current vampire copy. Blood Servant is half human and half ghost stage. Blood Servants are one step closer and are vampires. Once you transform yourself into a vampire, you complete the transformation from human to alien. Turned into a ghost with human consciousness. Not only can you freely enter and exit the human world, but you can also feel at home in the horror world. It is said that the number 1 supernatural person today is an alien. All the players' eyes fell on Shenji Unjian. Is this the most famous player in the supernatural forum also a ghost with human consciousness? Otherwise, it would be impossible for human beings to break through the coffin lid with bare hands. After all, this is not an extraordinary world. There is no such thing as warriors, supernatural powers, or superpowers. All special abilities can be attributed to one thing, supernatural powers. Think of this. All players secretly had ideas. The alien path seems to be really feasible. Today's number 1 supernatural being is suspected of being an alien. The person in charge of Kingshi, who is the most famous person in the supernatural forum, is also suspected of being an anomaly. Perhaps they can also try to turn themselves into vampires in this 4-star dungeon. At this time, the Scarlet panel reappeared. It is detected that the player is eligible for the game. The assessment officially begins. Please follow the mountain path to the Rose Manor smoothly. Time limit, 3 hours. Task tip, it is very dangerous outside the manor, so don't deviate from the trajectory. Note, the first player to arrive at Rose Manor will be awarded the position of housekeeper. Note, the 5 players who arrive at Rose Manor the fastest can directly qualify to become blood servants. See this. All the players looked grave. The test just now turned out to be just a qualification for the game. If you want to truly enter the Vampire Manor, you need to pass another test. And it is competitive in nature. This Vampire Manor is far more terrifying than they imagined. Among the 4-star dungeons, it is probably the most difficult one. Looking at the Scarlet panel, Shen Jian withdrew his gaze. An undetectable smile flashed across his face. The greater the difficulty of the dungeon, the higher the quality of the ghosts in this dungeon. The more achievements he can get. He wished that the title of Ghost Seeing Sorrow would take effect directly. Transform this place into a 5-star copy. It would be best to let the old city lord of the former Nanjiang district stand up from behind and be promoted to ghosts and gods immediately. This is even better. Think of this. Shen Jian did not hesitate. Stepping directly into the mountain path leading deep. The other players saw this. They also followed one by one. I heard that the person in charge of Kingshi is warm-hearted and willing to help others. Although it is unclear whether the rumors are exaggerated, following Shen Jian, it is definitely true. However, the next second, everyone was stunned. I don't know when the fog started to surround me. Became extremely quiet. He couldn't hear anything except his own footsteps. They looked around. His expression changed drastically. Because all the players following them disappeared. They were the only ones left on the entire mountain path. The other side. Shen Jian, who was the first to step onto the mountain path, also noticed all this. But he didn't care. Walking leisurely. Thinking about follow-up plans. He also has acquaintances in this copy. That is the noble wife of Niu Li Ghost King. Miss Liu. When the Liken Ghost King arrived, someone led the Ghost King Niu Li to the human world through the passage between the two realms. Following him, the Ghost King Niu Li's wife also followed. After. He had never known this distinguished lady. The two are in love with each other, crossed out. If he wants to know the situation, he can go to that noble lady later. Thinking. A voice sounded from the fog. Young man, why are you walking alone in such a dangerous place? Shen Jian looked around. In the mist, a kind-faced old lady wearing a little red hat said nervously, "Come here quickly, this path is very dangerous. There are dirty things at night, and they hunt people who walk here." Shen Jian. He looked at the old lady standing outside the mountain trail, waving to him desperately to tell him not to die. He thought about it and said casually, "Really? That's really terrible. I am most afraid of getting dirty something. Old dong, old lady, what should I do? See this." The old lady had a very kind smile on her face. She seemed to be very satisfied with Shen Jian's fear. She stood at the edge of the mountain path and waved to Shen Jian. "Don't be afraid, I will take you to a safe place." Shen Jian was also frightened. Following the old lady, she walked out of the mountain path. That moment, the old lady walking in front had a sinister smile on her face. Taking Shen Jian deep into the center of the fog. Shen Jian glanced around. He said with great interest, "Old lady, I feel like we are going deeper and deeper. I'm a little scared." "Hey, young man, don't be afraid. I'm not a human being, no, I'm not a bad person. Besides, there are many people in my family besides me. Are you still worried that we'll be cheating on you?" Hear this. The smile on Shen Jian's face became even brighter. "It turns out, old lady, there are quite a few people in your family. Let me tell you, why are there two bad guys here?" "Old lady?" She was slightly startled. "Did you hear something wrong just now? What two bad guys? Apart from her being a bad person, who else is there?" "Young man, what did you just say?" The old lady glanced at Shen Jian suspiciously. "Oh, I mean it's a good thing there are no bad guys here, otherwise you wouldn't be able to run away from me, old lady." Shen Jian explained. "Old lady. Damn it, you are so shameless. What does it mean to be unable to outrun you? Do you mean to say that if you encounter a bad guy, you should just run away and leave her alone? Think of this." The old lady felt a slight pain in her back molars. "How dare you say such shameless thoughts in front of me? Old lady, don't think so much. Let's leave quickly. I want to be a guest at your home." Seeing the old lady stop, Shen Jian couldn't help but urge her. He looked very anxious. See this. Although the old lady was a little confused, considering that this was just a lost human being, there was nothing to be afraid of. Then, she continued to lead Shen Jian deeper into the fog. Soon, a bright wooden house appeared in front of me. The old lady stopped. A strange smile began to appear on his face. And he took off the little red hat on his head, revealing his bare head. Head on. A huge scar is clearly visible. There is a silk thread on the top that sews the two sides of the head together, as if it is sewing something tight. Boy, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time there was a human being. Just saying. The old lady saw Shen Jian take out a ghost knife from his body. The bright cold light shone on her face. That sinister smiling face suddenly froze. Shen Jian looked at the wooden house in front of him. Same grin. You don't want to say that you are a ghost disguised in human skin, and the next human skin is mine. Old man, I'm not telling you, we ghosts must keep pace with the times. What you are doing has long been out of date. If it were someone else, you would probably starve to death before humans come over. Shen Jian's tone was full of sarcasm. In the fog where there is only one safe path, if an unknown human appears, even a fool will know that something is wrong. It was him who followed him in order not to hurt the other person's self-esteem. Old lady. Damn it. Are ghosts so introverted now? She has become a ghost, and she still has to keep up with the development of the times and study ways to seduce humans? It's noisy. And how dare you expose me? Don't ghosts have no face? Don't you know that the last exciting part will be revealed by the person involved? The corner of her mouth twitched. He did not choose to tear open the leather case again, but showed a twisted look towards Shen Jian, and said resentfully, "Human, what if you find out? You have walked out of the safe area specified by Rose Manor? Here, I will kill you at any time and then peel off your human skin to dry. First of all, put your hand." The old lady raised her hand with a ferocious look. Laugh. The cold light disappeared in a flash. Old lady. She suddenly looked at her hands. Grass. Where are my hands? I have such a big hand. The old lady looked at Shen Jian in horror. At that moment, one of her hands was dismembered. And she didn't even see the other party's movements clearly. You. The old lady began to retreat. Gee, you are so bold and evil. I can tell at a glance that you are not a human being, so I will sacrifice my whole family to save your life. Shen Jian laughed strangely. With 2 knives, he dismembered the opponent's head. He kicked open the door of the wooden house again. 4 coffins were found inside. Each coffin was opened, revealing 3 generations inside. Shen Jian became even more excited. He just likes to take care of the family. Catching one is equivalent to capturing the whole family. Outside the door, the old lady's head was wailing miserably. She watched helplessly as the human walked toward her family's coffins, unable to do anything. No, don't touch my wife. That's my grandson, you damn boy. Son, wake up quickly. Birth, what are you doing to my daughter-in-law? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 393. The louder the screams became, the more excited Shen became. Originally, he planned to enter the Rose Manor first before thinking about anything else, but since a ghost came to his door, he didn't intend to be polite. Shen Jian felt it carefully. This fog can isolate people's vision and block people's perception, but it has no effect on Shen Jian. Even in the dark, his gaze was still astonishing. As in daytime. Shen Jian glanced at it. In the mist, besides this wooden house, there are dozens of similar buildings, which look like they are built around a market. All live at the foot of Rose Manor. As if seeking refuge here. Shen Jian was thoughtful. When he came to the second wooden house, he kicked it open. A carpenter ghost hiding in the room looked at Shen Jian with a frightened expression, a look of shock and anger on his face. Damn it! This damn human being had ravaged his neighbor's family like that, and now he came to look for him again. Are you treating him as a soft persimmon and easy to bully? Human, you! He was filled with anger and his eyes became more and more fierce. The terrifying aura belonging to the red-clad ghosts filled the air. It's like a signal. Telling others there are humans looking for trouble. See it? Shen Jian ignored it at all. Carrying the ghost sword, Like the evil remnants of the old society, they wantonly broke into the homes of good people. Jajaja, I'll ask you a question, and if you answer it correctly, I'll leave. Shen Jian showed a somewhat sinister smile. Looking at these fierce ghosts is like looking at family members. His face was full of excitement. Here, let me ask you, if you have 10 candies and you give me 3, how many will you have left? Carpenter ghost? Grass. What a mentally retarded problem. Is this bullying him for being uneducated? You must know that the people who can win the chance to live at the foot of the vampire manor are all famous people from all over the country. The last one is also the level of red-clothed fierce ghost. Not to mention how high the level of education is. However, the 9-year compulsory education is still complete. The carpenter ghost looked at the ghost knife in Shen Jian's hand, then at the completely quiet neighbor's family next door, and finally weighed the strength of a single man like himself and the 5 neighbors next door. The next second, he gave up the idea of confrontation. Then he said confidently, 7. Wrong, if there are 10 candies, what does it have to do with you? Shen Jian grinned. The knife slashed up. Boom. Shen Jian kicked open the third wooden house. A peeping ghost hiding by the window watched Shen Jian kicking open the door of his house, and his fist became hardened. But in order not to repeat the same mistake, he ultimately did not take action. The strength of this human being is a bit scary. My friend, please answer my question. Shen Jian said casually. For example, there are 10 candies and you give me 3. How many do you have left? The peeping ghost was delighted. His neighbor didn't answer this question correctly, but he had had time to prepare, so he naturally knew the trap of this question. If the premise of if is not present, then the answer to the question returns to the question itself. The correct answer is 7. But this human being is so domineering, and the red-clothed devil can kill him at will. How could he accept this kind of distribution method? The answer to 7 is also a trap. Then, peeping ghost pushed up his non-existent glasses. The new machine keeps touching your belly. There are 0 candies left, because if I had 10 candies, I would use them all to honor you. Peeping ghost handed over a perfect answer. Show the human accident vividly. Finished. The peeping ghost raised his head proudly. Because he felt that his answer was perfect. No one can find fault with it. However, the moment he looked up, he noticed the strange look on Shen Jian's face. He also noticed that Shen Jian raised the ghost-killing knife again. He cursed and said, "What the hell, for example, if you are my friend, you dare to hit him." Peeping ghost? Damn it! You're humming using language charm on me, right? If you want me to die, just say it directly and don't be so showy. Click. Shen Jian slashed it with his sword. Peeping ghost followed suit. Come to the third wooden house. Before Shen Jian kicked the door, it had already opened. A tongueless ghost looked at Shen Jian with wide eyes. Human, if you want us to die, just say so. Your current behavior is too bad. I have never seen such an evil human being like you. Shen Jian. Think about it. Shen Jian explained, this is different. If you just come and kill someone, you are a lunatic. But if I ask a question first and then kill you, then I am testing your cultural level in school. I am a cultural ambassador. Tongueless ghost? I'm crazy. I bet you also know that your behavior is bad. But you did it anyway. I also worked hard to do it. You really deserve to die. For a while, the tongueless ghost didn't know what to say. The murderer is not scary, but the murderer is afraid of being educated. Okay, it's your turn, I'm very busy. Shen Jian glanced at the sky and asked, is dichlorvos more poisonous after it expires or less poisonous? Tongueless ghost. What the hum is this problem? Why is it that everything goes beyond his knowledge blind spot? Abba Abba. The tongueless ghost opened his mouth, revealing his tongueless mouth, as if to say, I can't speak. Click. Shenjian slashed it with a knife. I don't have a son as naughty as you. Next. When Shenjian kicked open the door, a fierce ghost had committed suicide in front of him. It was as if he had just hurriedly grabbed a stool and a rope and hung himself in front of Shenjian. After all, in this family's eyes, hanging himself can also reflect his unyielding spirit. And that human ghost weapon is clearly designed to kill ghosts. Once it is dismembered, it cannot be revived in a short time. But hanging is different. Even if it crashes, it can be revived very quickly. Shenjian looked around. On the ground, there were also 2 lines of blood words left behind. Scholars can be killed but not humiliated. The devil will never give in. Shenjian? See it? He sighed a little, it's a pity. I originally wanted to ask what 1 + 1 equals, but I never wanted to commit suicide. This is too shameful. Said. Shenjian stuffed the body into a sack. Next door. The big-eared ghost who heard all this suddenly became ecstatic. He took down the 3-foot white silk from the beam. It's stable, this wave is stable. Boom. I saw Shenjian kicking open the door. The big-eared ghost immediately said, 2, 1 + 1 equals 2. Shenjian nodded, very satisfied. Very well, I admire a smart guy like you. How about I give you a one-way ticket to the underworld? Big-eared ghost? He was slightly startled. Then he reacted. I'll hum you. One-way ticket, does this mean you are not going to let me come back? Are you playing with me? The big-eared ghost's eyes widened. His whole body was shaking. Yes. Shenjian looked like it was natural. The ghost's sword cuts down. The big-eared ghost died. At this moment, the group of fierce ghosts gathered at the foot of the mountain finally reacted. Damn it, this human just wants to find a reason to kill ghosts. What the answer is, it doesn't matter at all to others. That's a pure evil person. They have never seen such malicious human beings in their lives. But it's a pity. They had missed the best opportunity to escape. Shenjian's butcher knife has been extended to everyone. Run, brothers, that lunatic is coming here. Help. Here he comes, he comes, he comes, he comes with the ghost's sword. The ghosts roared sharply. All of them wished that their parents would give them 2 more legs. Killing like crazy. This human being is completely crazy. I don't know where the madman is. Where are the people at Vampire Manor? Why didn't anyone stop this human being? Don't run, brothers, I'm a good person. Shenjian was chasing behind him with a knife in hand, his face full of excitement. What bad intentions could he have? I just want these lucky people to contribute to the construction of the underworld. The 6 paths of reincarnation will reappear in the future. This is a great merit. Most people are not qualified to be caught by him. The other side. 3 players are already standing in front of the gate of Rose Manor. The young man with the ID Gongziye glanced at the time and saw that there was only half an hour left before the selection was over. However, he never saw Shenjian. This is so strange. Logically speaking, given Shenjian's strength, he should be the first to appear here. However, in fact, the first one to arrive here was the player with the ID Chang Kong. Isn't it strange? The supernatural forum has overblown it. In fact, most of his reputation has been improved by helping others. There are not many records of actual strength. Even on the forum, there are not many. He just vaguely stated that he has the strength to rival the Ghost King. The player with the ID Chang Kong seemed to know what Gongziye was thinking, and there was a hint of sneer in the sunken pupils of his eyes. He may be considered a relatively powerful being among 4-star players, but against us senior 4-star players, his advantage is not big. It is normal for him to be a little slower. Young Master Yi retorted, I saw a post saying that Yama can suppress Ghost King level ghosts, even facing Abyss level ghosts. Hey, do you believe this source of information? I have read some of these posts, but they were quickly withdrawn. I think it was because they posted outrageous and false rumors that they were withdrawn. Chang Kong chuckled. There is a lot of doubt about the authenticity of those posts. After all, the news was outrageous. Suppressing the Ghost King level ghosts and the Abyss level ghosts is simply not something a 4-star player can do. Even 5-star players may not be able to meet the above requirements. Shen Jian's reputation was largely enhanced by his willingness to help players in horror games. As for strength, the father-in-law is right and the mother-in-law is right. Hear this. Young Master Ye fell silent. After all, it was a fact that Shen Jian hadn't appeared yet. This mountain trail is truly terrifying as part of the test. You may be attacked by evil spirits at any time while walking on the road. In this case, it is natural to come out as quickly as possible. To a certain extent, the one who arrives at Rose Manor the fastest does indeed mean that he is the strongest among the players. This cannot be refuted. And I haven't come out until now. There is only one possibility, being hunted by evil spirits and unable to escape. Just thinking about it. Another figure came out of the mist. He had black hair and black eyes, and was wearing a white trench coat, with a blood-stained hemp rope tied to his wrist. It was Shen Jian. As can be seen, Shen Jian was in a good mood at the moment. The smile on his face cannot be concealed. In less than 3 hours after entering the game, he had harvested 100 red-clad ghosts. He wanted to call this copy the Cave Heaven Paradise. Supermarkets don't even dare to display their goods like this. If it weren't for the 3-hour time limit, he would have liked to go to the other side of the mountain. Because he also sensed the same market at the foot of the mountain on the other side. In a 4-star dungeon, more than 200 red-clad ghosts were surrounding the foot of the mountain before entering the main manor. This was a very shocking thing to hear. Even the Nanjiang City Lord's mansion cannot provide so much information. Shen Jian was a little emotional. Compared with here, the City Lord of Nanjiang City Lord's mansion is really in a mess. He was already looking forward to what surprises this vampire manor could bring him. After Shen Jian, the remaining players also came out of the fog one after another. There were 15 players, and 2 level 40 players died there. There are 13 people left. At this time, the 9 players who had just emerged from the fog gathered together and murmured, "Do you feel that there is no danger in this fog? Holy crap, do you feel the same way? I thought this road would be filled with man-eating ghosts. I didn't expect that there was no danger at all from beginning to end. Fortunately, I slowed down and moved carefully. Who knew that even a ghost could be there? No. I did encounter a ghost, but I don't know what happened. The evil ghost who originally wanted to attack me suddenly seemed to have seen something scary, and disappeared in a flash. The ghost's screams could still be faintly heard. Then I could see more clearly. I saw a figure passing by me, holding a knife and letting out a creepy scream. He cut the ghost into pieces with one blow, and then continued to chase after him. I also saw it. It was definitely a powerful ghost king wandering in the fog. I was so scared that I didn't even dare to change my direction a little for fear of being dragged in. 9 players talked to each other. Fear flashed across all faces. The 3 players who had arrived at Rose Manor in advance looked puzzled. Was there no ghosts all the way? Did you see a ghost king coming and going? Ghosts killing ghosts? Have it? Why do they feel that there are dangers and ghosts everywhere along the way? If he hadn't been strong, he would have been killed long ago. The 3 of them looked at Shen Jian. His eyes seemed to be asking, "Have you seen the sword-carrying ghost king in the fog?" Shenjian. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 394. Chapter 393 Vampire, the Ancestor? In front of Rose Manor. 13 players were talking to each other. Came to a conclusion. Try not to go out at night, and take mountain trails when you go out. That is most likely a Ghost King level ghost in the vampire castle. Specially responsible for hunting ghosts here. Patrol the territory. To this. Shenjian, looks like you are right. Crunch. At this time, there was a noise in the manor. A top-notch red-clothed ghost dressed as a housekeeper came out. Wearing a tuxedo, his eyes were scarlet. She stared at the player and licked her lips. When he opened his mouth, 2 fangs were exposed. This is the hallmark of a vampire. Everyone's hearts trembled. Among the top red-clothed vampires, Shenjian was probably the only one here who dared to say that he escaped unharmed. The housekeeper came to everyone. The voice was cold and cold. First of all, congratulations on passing the test. You are the group with the largest number of clearances I have ever seen. Of the humans who entered here in the past, only 6 people survived at most. You guys have doubled this record. But, don't be happy too early. There are many vampires who hate humans in Rose Manor. If you want to live longer, then work hard to obtain the blood source and transform yourself into a blood servant. Although this is still the lowest existence, at least you won't be attacked by supernatural beings while walking on the road. The housekeeper smiled sadly. The corners of his mouth widened. The pair of fangs shining with cold light became more and more obvious. Being stared at by such a direct person makes every player look creepy. This 4-star copy is so dangerous. It's not enough to do your job well, you also have to get the so-called blood source. Otherwise, you may be attacked by supernatural beings at any time. This news is undoubtedly a bolt from the blue for players after the top 5. Even the top red-clad ghosts can only be reduced to housekeepers. There is no shortage of ghost kings in the castle, and there may even be legendary abyss-level ghosts. This is a dungeon where you can only be smart and act according to the rules. The first thing to do is to obtain the blood source and transform yourself into a blood servant. Although it will be limited by people, it is better to die than live. And there are many benefits. Especially after becoming an alien, being able to survive in the form of a ghost body and a human heart. There are no longer restrictions on using the supernatural. The other side. Shenjian frowned slightly. This transformation into a blood servant turned out to be mandatory. According to the content of the copy, they are already the 4th batch of players to enter here. The first 3 batches of players must have completed the transformation from humans to vampires. After that, it is unknown what will happen when these players return to the real world. If he continued to lurk secretly in the human world with orders from the vampire castle, then the current situation in Yangshi would not be as optimistic as he imagined. Think of this. Shenjian's face looked slightly solemn. Thinking. The housekeeper had already waved, and 5 maids came over carrying scarlet liquid. The liquid appears light red. It's like it's alive. The first 5 people to arrive at Rose Manor, come up and receive your supreme reward. This is the blessing given to you by the vampire castle. Drink it and you will automatically become blood servants. The sinister smile on the housekeeper's face became more and more obvious. Of course, it's okay if you don't drink it, but you'll just have to be happy after that. Having said that, the housekeeper continued, next, I will arrange your positions. The last 9 people who arrived at Rose Manor will all be servants and be responsible for cleaning the servants' rooms. The first 3 people to arrive at Rose Manor are servants, responsible for serving the gentlemen in the castle. Hear this. A group of players. Chang Kong? He froze. Doesn't the game panel say that the first player to arrive at Rose Manor will become the butler? Why did he become a servant? This isn't fair. The player with the ID Chang Kong blushed and wanted to ask, but was afraid of offending the top red-dressed fierce ghost housekeeper in front of him. He looked very hesitant. As for you, congratulations on becoming the steward here. At last. The housekeeper looked at Shen Jian. Although her expression was still malicious, her attitude was undoubtedly much better than that of others. Players? Chang Kong? Everyone looked at Shen Jian. Damn it! You're cheating, aren't you? The 4th place result surpassed the first 3 and became the steward. His status suddenly surpassed theirs by a lot. This is not purely a behind-the-scenes operation. He refused. Think of this. Chang Kong finally made up his mind and asked aloud, "Can I ask why he can become a housekeeper? He is obviously the 4th to arrive here, and I am the 1st to arrive." The housekeeper glanced at Chang Kong. There was obviously a bit of displeasure in his eyes. He also said in an impatient tone, "Are you so ignorant of yourself? You are a bad old man who looks to be in his 50s and looks terminally ill. If you become a housekeeper, the vampire castle will not be laughed at by outsiders. Although it is the position of housekeeper, it represents the appearance of this place after all, and there are still strict conditions. Say it." The housekeeper turned and left. This. All the players looked towards the sky with pity in their eyes. The position of housekeeper was clearly within reach, but he was rejected because of his lack of qualifications. This is really devastating. But one of the 2 was an old man who looked to be in his 50s. He had sunken eyes, a pale face, and high cheekbones. He looked like he was about to die soon. A tall, muscular man with handsome features. Comparing the 2 together is indeed a bit bullying. Not to mention the player with the ID Chang Kong, even others have to admit that Shen Jian has a scumbag face that is popular with women. The other side. Shen Jian's ancient well has no waves. Although this result is unexpected, it is not surprising. After all, if he wanted this position, he could get it in minutes. Not taking it means he doesn't care. Just thinking about it? Shen Jian focused his attention on the light red blood in front of him. He seemed to be thinking about something. Next moment, the scarlet panel emerged. It is detected that the player has obtained the position of housekeeper. The current player has 2 choices. Choice 1, reject the blood source. Option 2, drink the blood source. Note, the current blood source is inferior and can only be converted into blood servants. Note, drinking high-grade blood sources can transform you into a vampire. Look at the information on the panel. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. As if he remembered something. Think about it. He drank the scarlet liquid. As soon as it entered the mouth, the blood seemed to be controlled by something, and it was automatically pulled together and turned into a drop of light red blood. Subsequently, disappeared into Shen Jian's body. It is detected that the player has drank the blood source. Player's current level, vampire, the ancestor. Scarlet panel's articulation speed seemed to be a beat slower. A question mark also emerged. Like not understanding. See it? A smile appeared on Shen Jian's face. Sure enough, this is the usage. He had just used the divine power of a Yama. That is the blood of ghosts and gods of King Qin Guang. Blood of ghosts and gods, analyze blood, use your own blood to control different blood, and trace the deepest power of the origin of blood. He has never used this divine ability of King Qin Guang. Shen Jian has always used the other clerical abilities of King Chujiang, King Song, King Yama, and King Wu Guan. Needless to say, King Yama's ability is his foundation. King Chu Jiang's ability was used by him to refine ghosts and check other people's past and present lives. The Song Emperor's ability is reflected in the use of thunder. The ability of the Rogue King, transforming good and evil, opens the small hell of blood pool. Only King Qin Guang's clerical ability was something he had never used. Especially the blood of ghosts and gods. He himself didn't know where to get the so-called rare blood for analysis. It wasn't until this blood source was placed in front of him that he remembered that he still had this priestly ability. By analyzing this drop of inferior blood, he successfully traced the origin of the vampire's ancestors' blood. And under the influence of the blood of ghosts and gods, this power is controlled. At this time, he is the ancestor of vampires. No, more accurately, he has a higher bloodline than the ancestor of vampires. After all, in addition to the blood of ghosts and gods, he is also blessed by the hearts of ghosts and gods. Now even the ancestor of vampires stood in front of him and had to admit that he was the fake. Think of this. Shen Jian can't wait to meet his disciples and grandchildren. The ancestor took action personally, which can be regarded as giving face to these little vampires. Thinking. Shen Jian followed the maid into the manor. The others saw this. They also followed suit. However, unlike Shen Jian's leisurely style, the other 4 players who drank the blood had their eyes glowing red and stared at the other players' necks with greedy expressions. I have the urge to lie on my neck and suck blood. Enter the vampire's castle. Several maids began to describe the rules of this rose manor. Everyone listened very carefully. After all, their lives are at stake. Shen Jian was equally interested. According to these maids, if you want to transform from a blood servant to a vampire, you need to please a vampire with a high-level blood source. The best one is undoubtedly the old city lord of Nanjiang district. He is also the master of the supernatural copy here. It is said that this top ghost king has the best bloodline and is the 3rd-generation disciple of the ancestor of vampires. Further down, there are the 3 sons of the old city lord of Nanjiang, possessing the 4th-generation vampire bloodline. Then, there are the grandchildren. Then there are the housekeepers who have been entrusted with important responsibilities, and some important servants in the manor. As for the players, they are low-quality blood servants, and their status in the manor is extremely low, almost like a bastard. Certainly. This is not the lowest status. The lowest level is the player who is not even qualified to become a blood servant. Their presence is particularly conspicuous here. It's more conspicuous than being thrown into a den of evil spirits. After all, it is not uncommon for supernatural props to hide the aura of a living person, but in this rose manor, it is useless to hide the aura of a living person. As long as he is not a blood servant, he is an outsider. Outsiders can be killed at will. All the players were frightened when they heard this. Even if they were 4-star players, the problem before them was still too big. If anything goes wrong, they will die without even a scrap left. The other side. Shen Jian also found out the address of Niu Ligi King, the wife of his adopted son-in-law. To understand the layout of Rose Manor, start by conquering this noble lady. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 395. I learned the whereabouts of that distinguished lady. Shen Jian rushed there immediately. This Rose Manor occupies an entire hilltop and covers an area of several thousand acres. Castles of different styles are displayed in rows. According to the address, Shen Jian quickly came over. A kind of rose castle located in the east. It is 7 stories high from top to bottom. Shen Jian stands here, just ready to step forward. A vampire servant stopped in front of him. Scarlet eyes flashed, staring at Shen Jian, and said in a cold tone, "Human? This is the 3rd lady's castle. It is not something that a humble existence like you can set foot on. Who are you? I am the captain of the guard responsible for the security of Rose Castle. I am warning you once to leave here. Otherwise, even if you are a servant here, I have the right to kill you," said. The captain of the guard had already exposed his fangs. The terrifying yin qi belonging to the top red-clad ghosts is surging. Looking at Shen Jian was like looking at a blood meal. A human who is not even a blood servant will not have any impact if killed. What's more, this person intends to break into this place. Break into the third lady's castle. This is a capital crime. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. This person is in charge of security here. In other words, when he comes here in the future, he will inevitably be known by the other party. Think about it. Shen Jian took out the morning stick from his body. Grinning, "You want to try? Human, you are seeking death." The captain of the guard smiled sinisterly and said with a ferocious face, "I will suck you dry little by little and let you watch yourself become a mummy." The words fell. The captain of the guard rushed forward. He thought he would be so powerful that he would cut off the human's limbs first, and then slowly enjoy the sweet blood of the other person. 3 seconds ago. That's exactly what he thought. But now it's 3 seconds later. He fell to the ground, held his head in his hands, and curled up completely to reduce the area where he would be beaten. At the same time, bursts of screams came from his mouth. "Are you satisfied?" Looking at the captain of the guard with a bruised nose and swollen face, Shen Jian stopped what he was doing and looked dangerously in his eyes. I'm convinced, you are my brother." The captain of the guard held his head and wanted to cry but had no tears. What the hell, why is a human being so strong? Beating him up with a top-notch red-clothed devil seemed like a joke. Could it be the Ghost King? But you damn Ghost King, what are you doing here? Don't you know that you can't break into a widow's home? That's right. Shen Jian took back the morning stick with satisfaction, patted the captain of the guard on the shoulder and comforted him, "You are not unjust when you lose to me." Chief of Guard. His expression changed. "What you said is quite hurtful. He is a top redcoat and a vampire, but he was beaten by a human until he begged for mercy. If other people knew about this, he would probably be embarrassed. That was not what I meant." Shen Jian seemed to realize that this sentence was a bit hurtful, and quickly changed his words, "I mean, if you fight me, you deserve to die." Chief of Guard? Hey, I can't explain this clearly. Shen Jian thought about the words and said sincerely again, "Actually, what I want to express is the same. Are you worthy of fighting me? Chief of Guard?" God is so comforting. He finally understood. This human was just entertaining him. Rub his dignity on the ground. Think of this. His back molars were almost broken. This human being really deserves to die. To humiliate him like this. But he was not an opponent yet, and he couldn't even cause any harm to this person. He decided to invite people later. Beat up this human being. Then. The resentment in the captain's eyes subsided and he put on a forced smile, brother, I know what you mean. Don't you just want to express that I have nothing and am a waste? I know it." Shen Jian's eyes were strange and he said, "Who said you are worthless? You are quite self-aware, aren't you? Chief of Guard. Grass. If you can't spit out ivory words from your humming mouth, then don't open your mouth." His fist hardened. Yes. Okay, I'm the new housekeeper of Rose Manor. I need to know the eating habits and requirements of several young ladies. You stay here and don't let anyone in until I come out." Chief of Guard? He was slightly startled. Is this human the steward here? It's noisy. This moment. The captain of the guard broke his guard. Damn it! If you are the housekeeper here, Wouldn't I let you go if you identify yourself as soon as possible? You are riding on the horse because you don't like me and want to beat me up. His eyes were splitting. Because if Shen Jian was the housekeeper here, then his hope of revenge would be gone and he would be beaten in vain. But the captain of the guard seemed to have thought of something. He sneered again inside. The owner of this rose castle is not easy to serve. Especially after the other party's husband died and became a widow, her temperament became even weirder, and she even burned everything related to her husband. It is absolutely impossible for a human butler to walk in and come out intact. If the other party dares to be rude to the owner here, he will die without a burial place. Immediately, he suppressed all his unhappiness and said in a gloomy tone, "Then go in. I promise that no one will disturb you." Shen Jian glanced at the other party. His expression was a bit baffling. "Think about it." Opened the door and walked in. Shen Jian walked up the spiral staircase. According to the captain of the guard, the owner of this rose castle lives on the top floor. Often sitting on the roof alone, staring blankly at the sky. Knock knock. Shen Jian knocked on the door. No one responded inside. Crunch. Shen Jian opened the door directly. On one side of the castle window, a noble lady with a plain face and a beautiful face was sitting on it. She was wearing a rose dress, her head resting on her knees, and she was staring blankly into the distance. Hearing that someone had pushed open the door to her bedroom without her permission, the noble lady showed a trace of surprise and unspeakable anger on her face. The terrifying supernatural power belonging to the Ghost King level ghost suddenly broke out. She turned sharply. Then I saw a human come in. His angry expression suddenly froze. It's him. It was the human that had been inside her. The lady was shocked for a moment. Red lips parted slightly. More than half a year ago, she came to the human world with her husband, Niulai Ghost King, who came to her home. The original intention was to help her heal, but she was defeated by a human unexpectedly. This experience still leaves a deep impression on her to this day. Are you crazy? How dare you show up here? The lady went down to the window. He looked a little nervous. See this? Shen Jian's eyes moved. The third lady of the vampire castle, Shang Guanwan. Current level, Ghost King. Introduction: as a married woman, she still maintains her purity. She is extremely resistant to the marriage arranged by her family, but she has no choice but to secretly vow to take back her rights here and become the master of the vampire castle. Current status: shocked, surprised, conflicted, ashamed. Favorability: 56, familiar. See this? A look of thoughtfulness flashed across Shen Jian's face. Want to be in charge? He would definitely support such a rebellious idea. Below the Castle of Roses, the captain of the guard squatted in front of the door, as if he wanted to listen to the human's screams. After all, the third lady of Rose Manor is the owner of Rose Castle. Not only is she a Ghost King level ghost, she is also a fourth-generation vampire, and her strength is infinitely close to that of an Abyss level ghost. That human being cannot be an opponent. Once you break into the castle, you may be torn apart from the front. Suddenly, he heard a sound. I walked outside and looked up. A figure seemed to be sitting by the window, with his head raised. Although it's a bit far away, I can't see it clearly. But there was already a sinister smile on his face. This is the picture of the human being pinched by the third lady of Rose Castle and threatened to be thrown in. It's a pity that he didn't have the chance to see the scene of human beings begging for mercy. The captain of the guard felt a little pity. I don't know how the third lady will torture this human being. Take off his arm? Or cut off his ankle? Or is it a little leather whip? Or just drop the opponent from the top and let him fall to death? Just thinking about it? A scream mixed with some pain sounded. The captain of the guard became even more excited. As expected, the human began to be tortured. But why does this voice sound like that of a third lady? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 396. The entrance to Rose Castle. The captain of the guard squatted in the corner. He, the captain of the bodyguard, was sent here just a few months ago to protect the safety of the third ladies, and he had no idea about the experiences of these third ladies. I just know that the other party is married and the husband is the son-in-law. More than half a year ago, the third lady returned to Rose Manor, but her husband died in the human world. The Earl was furious and ordered that the murderer of his son-in-law be killed. But for some reason, the third lady still dared not reveal the murderer. Until a few months ago. A terrifying top ghost king attacked Rose Manor. A picture scroll is unfolded 100 meters high in the sky. To absorb the entire Rose Manor into it. Fortunately, the Earl took action in time and was able to repel the murderer. But before leaving, the mysterious top ghost king left a message, asking Vampire Castle to give up the idea of killing the human, otherwise she will come again. So far, Rose Manor has stepped up its precautions. It was also at that time that he became the captain of the guard of Rose Castle. But no one told him that the third lady of the Vampire Manor turned out to be a pervert who liked to torture people. If someone didn't perform well, he wouldn't be tortured like this. The captain of the guard raised his head and glanced at the sky. It's daybreak. The screams finally stopped. Terrible. The other side. Just as the captain of the guard thought, life was worse than death. Shen Jian, who was already dying, was just fine at this moment. The third lady adjusted her thoughts and said with a complicated expression. It's too shameless for you to treat me like this. People will gossip about you. Shen Jian continued, it is human nature for a man to love a woman. Madam, you must face your own desires. What's more, madam, you are widowed and I am unmarried. We are above board and innocent. Why are we afraid of being gossiped about? Third Miss Shang Guanwan? Innocent. Her eyes became even more resentful. You ruined everything for me. Shen Jian made a move. He said seriously, how do you say that? In our generation, I am the second sister. The eldest sister is the fourth generation of vampire bloodline and has the potential to advance to the third generation of vampires. This potential can give us the ability to advance to ghosts and gods, so the king of fighting order appeared. Grandpa each picked a husband for us to help us, and let us compete. Whoever manages the supernatural land under his command the best will be the new owner of the vampire castle. However, because of you, Niu Li died, and because I never revealed your clues, the forces behind Niu Li believed that I had killed him, and they have severed ties with me. Without this help, it is no longer possible to defeat the eldest sister and the second sister. No matter who wins between the two, they will eventually imprison me and completely cut off all my hopes. For the rest of my life, there is basically only one possibility of being dead for generations to come. Speaking of which, the third lady of the vampire castle felt very wronged. Part of her felt that Shen Jian had ruined everything for her. But on the other hand, she actually couldn't hate it. Perhaps, just continuing to enjoy it until the end of the king's order is not a bad choice. At least, she enjoyed a pleasure that was difficult to experience in this life. Hear this. Shen Jian was thoughtful. No wonder this lady's introduction included the idea of competing for the master of the castle. Dare to love without fighting. The loser will end up miserable. Think of this. Shen Jian grinned. Looking at your tone, you haven't extinguished this idea yet. Do you want to give it another try with me? Try again. Third Miss Shang Guanwan was stunned for a moment. Then he shook his head and said, how to try? I don't even have any help. The supernatural place under my jurisdiction is managed by the forces behind Niuli. After they left it alone, it became complete chaos. Shen Jian said with an incomprehensible expression, management may be difficult, but if it is destroyed, it is very simple. Since the supernatural land under your jurisdiction has been messed up, let other people also mess up. When the time comes, yours will. The starting point is still the same. Third Miss Shang Guanwan? She looked startled. Because she heard Shen Jian's underlying meaning. Since she can't do it, she can bring her opponents to the same starting line, so that the gap between them can be evened out. Will this work? As if he knew what the third lady was thinking, Shen Jian could no longer hide the smile on his face, like a big bad wolf looking at Little Red Riding Hood, showing excitement. Men, you can't say no. At this moment, Shen Jian was really excited. Originally, I just thought of catching all the ghosts in this copy. But after hearing something like the king's order, his thoughts suddenly became clear. He wants the vampire castle, and he also wants the forces behind these king-fighting orders. Maybe, he can accumulate 1 or 2 ghosts and gods achievements. Think of this. Shen Jian was in agitated mood. If every copy has this kind of benefit, then the target of 10 ghosts and gods doesn't seem to be too difficult. Even if he doesn't catch ghosts and gods, he can still win with quantity. Are you willing to help me? But think about it clearly. During the king's order, even if I just leave the Rose Manor, I may be besieged by several ghost kings. Although you have shown the strength to kill the ghost king, your power is only the lowest among the ghost kings. A super ghost king is not on the same level as other ghost kings. Third Miss Shang Guanwan said seriously. Moreover, the second and eldest sisters are backed by real abyss-level ghost kings. Once they take action, the closer you get to me, the faster you will die. You can trust me. Say it. Shen Jian stood up. Organize clothes. He couldn't wait any longer. See it? The third lady, Shang Guanwan, looked confused. Believe it? Even though he knew he would die, he was still willing to fight for the last hope with her. Judging from this point alone, this man is qualified to be her Shang Guanwan's husband. If it weren't for the different paths between humans and ghosts, becoming a human wife would seem to be a good choice. As for the fight for the king's order, let's give it a final try. Anyway, the result will not be disastrous. The worst is to die together. Think of this. There was hope again in the eyes of the third lady of the vampire castle. Soon, the door to Rose Castle was pushed open. The captain of the guard bowed his head respectfully. Miss Third, good morning. He didn't dare to look up at all. I was afraid that I would offend the sensitive nerves of this third lady. Not bad, very responsible. At this time, he suddenly heard a familiar voice coming from his ears. That voice was like a nightmare. It's that human. He was stunned. He looked up suddenly. Just in time to see Shen Jian walking out of the castle. One arm was still hugging the third lady. He seemed to be supporting the other person. The behavior is very affectionate. Chief of Guard? What? Damn it! What's going on? He clearly heard the human scream last night. Even if it didn't come out as a pile of meat, it was at least cut into 8 pieces. But now take a look. There were no signs of injury on that human being. The complexion is rosy and shiny, and the face is full of spring breeze. On the contrary, it was the third lady who looked a little hurt. A majestic ghost king level ghost actually needs a human to support him. That damn human put his hand on the third lady's waist. It was so disrespectful. It was so disrespectful. It was almost offensive to the noble goddess. What happened to his face? At this time, the third young lady, Shang Guanwan, also noticed the traces on the face of the head guard and said curiously. Someone dared to hit her in her home. It's okay. I had a spiritual competition with him. He's not strong enough, that's it? Shen Jian responded casually. So. After hearing the reply, the third lady ignored the matter. He just gave a stern and dangerous warning to the captain of the guard. I don't want what happened here to be spread. If a third person knows that he has been to my place today, I will treat it as if you have leaked the secret. Finished. Turn around and leave. Only the captain of the guard was left petrified alone. He was shaking all over. Is there no justice in this world? He was obviously the victim, but now he was warned by the third lady. And that human being. So humming weird. If he wasn't tortured last night, then who was? At that time, there were only 2 people in Rose Castle. Think of this. The captain of the guard was heartbroken. At the same time, third Miss Shang Guanwan said, where do you plan to start? You want to bring the supernatural land under the jurisdiction of my second sister to my level. Our time is very short. Once the news leaks out, everything will be over. What do you think? Shen Jian asked. He didn't know much about the situation in the vampire castle. There is no rush to make a decision. I suggest starting with my second sister. She runs the ghost weapon manufacturing facility in the south. The threat level is much lower than that of my eldest sister. There is also an advantage of going there first, that is, I have someone here who can delay the news. Outgoing. See the slight surprise in Shen Jian's eyes. Third Miss Shang Guanwan said proudly, don't underestimate me. Although I failed in the fight, the strength I have accumulated over the years will not be wasted in one day. I have someone there to collect intelligence secretly. He will help us delay the news. We don't need to worry about this matter reaching my eldest sister's ears for at least 3 days. Hear this? Shen Jian nodded. It's up to you to conquer your second sister first. Shen Jian grinned. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 397. Following the third lady, Shen Jian came to the market in the south. According to the other party, although the vampire manor only covers an area of a few thousand acres, the actual controlled area covers tens of thousands of miles. The entire mountain is the territory of the vampire manor. Coupled with the appeal of the former city lord's palace, many famous forces in Nanjiang district have defected to each other. A large number of red-clad ghosts gathered and opened up a recycling trade market at the foot of the mountain. Among them, it is divided into 4 regions, southeast, northwest, and northwest. Shen Jian was thoughtful. No wonder he always felt that the power of the Nanjiang City Lord's mansion was a bit weak. I bet the previous City Lord's mansion had removed most of the Nanjiang district's heritage. Under such circumstances, it was normal for the Nanjiang City Lord's mansion to fail. After all, no matter how he develops, the overall situation cannot compare with Rose Manor. And from the words of this third lady, Shen Jian also got an important piece of news. In this Nanjiang competition, Vampire Castle will also participate. Plan to take back the title of City Lord's Mansion. Shen Jian clicked his tongue a little. It seems that the Nanjiang district manager's authority is more valuable than he imagined. Even the top Ghost King intends to take back this authority. What? Are you planning to get involved too? Seeing Shen Jian's interest, the third lady Shang Guanwan said seriously, but I advise you not to participate. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. What's the point of this? Because this Nanjiang hegemony competition will be more grand than before, and it is likely to determine the true southern ruler. The final winner will not only rule the Nanjiang district, but also truly unify the southern region and become the king of the south. And all of this is to unite forces and then invade the human world. Hear this. Shen Jian looked stunned. Are the changes in the Nanjiang competition caused by the invasion of the Yangshi by horror games? This is new news. Conversation room. The two of them have arrived at the market. This place is specially responsible for making ghost weapons, some of which are digested by foreign ghosts, and some of which are supplied to the vampire castle. As for the purpose of these ghost weapons, Shen Jian guessed. It should be used to invade Yangshi. Walking on the street, the third young lady Shang Guanwan lowered her voice and said, "This southern market is the supernatural place under the jurisdiction of my second sister. The total number of people is about 500, and more than 50 of them come from behind my second sister. The husband-in-law's power is responsible for managing the order here. There are two people in charge, one is the general person in charge here, and the other is the ghost craftsman here. We just need to make these two people disappear, and I can take care of the remaining management team and completely mess up this place." Shen Jian nodded. He glanced around. His eyes were filled with excitement. He neither approved nor disapproved. After all, in this case, he felt that his moral bottom line could be more flexible. More than 50 ghosts could not satisfy his growing appetite. Just a few minutes after entering the market, a group of people hurried over. The leader was a fierce ghost in a suit and leather shoes, wearing rimless glasses, who came over. "Third Miss, why are you here? This is a place where only the bosses come. Third Miss standing here, I'm afraid it will tarnish your identity." The spectacled ghost looked a little solemn. The third lady of the vampire castle, the competitor for the second lady, has now appeared in this place. This is probably not a good premonition. But he heard about it. This third lady was abandoned by the forces behind her because she planned to kill her husband. The supernatural land under her jurisdiction was in chaos, and she basically lost her qualifications to fight for the king's order. Now that I'm here, I'm not here to cause trouble. Think of this. The bespectacled ghost's eyes flickered. Subconsciously he glanced at the guarding power he brought with him. 10 red-clad level ghosts, 1 ghost king, and he is also a ghost king, and is infinitely close to the abyss level. Even though the third lady has the 4th generation vampire bloodline, they are not vampires after all and will not be restrained. It is more than enough to suppress this third lady. "Miss Third, are you here to build a ghost weapon? If so, we can help you." The glasses ghost tried. Third Miss Shang Guanwan ignored the other party and just looked at Shen Jian. "He is one of them." Shen Jian nodded. The two people in charge of the southern market are both infinitely close to the abyss level. He could spot a fierce ghost of this level with perfect accuracy. This is, human. The glasses ghost was stunned for a moment. He thought that whoever was so close to this third lady would be a lowly human being. It seems that this third lady has resigned herself to being in the company of grasshoppers. He would actually ask a human for his opinion. The second young lady actually regards such a person as a threat. It seems that she is overthinking. There was a bit of contempt on the glasses ghost's face. But he still put on a smile and said, "This, guest, you brought the third lady here, does anyone know about it in the manor? If something happens to the third lady here, you can't afford to pay for it with your life. Speaking of which..." His face gradually turned cold. The look he looked at Shen Jian was a bit ferocious. Terrifying fluctuations of yin qi swept across. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Among the many forces I have seen, you are considered the most unique one. However, there is no enmity between us, so it would be a bit unreasonable to take action immediately. Hear this. Glasses ghost? Damn it. Do you really know what you're talking about? If you want to fight with us, don't look at how much you weigh. Do you really think that with the escort supporting you behind your back, you can start shaking? I'm afraid the third lady herself can't be saved. Human, What are you talking about? Just based on your words, I have the right to kill you and hang your body at the entrance of the market, so that everyone can see the ugliness of human beings. At this time, the Ghost King next to the glasses ghost came out. A grimace looked at Shen Jian with a solemn look, a long knife had been drawn out, and supernatural fluctuations were spreading. It seemed like a supernatural attack would be launched in the next second. Hey, who is this guy? Looking at the two people with somewhat similar faces, Shen Jian asked. This is my brother. He was promoted to Ghost King not long ago. He may not be able to control his aura well and is a little irritable. The spectacled ghost introduced him while watching indifferently. On the surface it looked like he was apologizing, but he didn't mean to stop him at all. Yeah, this is really great. Hear this. Shen Jian's lips curled up. He took out a ghost knife from his body. The moment he raised his head, the curve on his face was very exaggerated. Then, cut it out with one knife. The death line of the Ghost King in front of him was clearly seen by Shen Jian. The sword shines. The dead line has been cut. Accompanied by a plop. The sword-wielding Ghost King in front of him fell heavily. No more supernatural fluctuations. It's okay now, we have our grudges. Do it all. Shen Jian grinned. Third Miss Shang Guan. Glasses ghost? Ghosts? No. Do you have any wrong understanding of the sentence? It's not easy to take action without any grievance. Because there is no grudge, so you humming created one on the spot. Killed someone else's brother on the spot. Grass. You really know how to have grievances and hatred. Everyone present was stunned. This operation is truly the underworld. This is not just a matter of grievance or enmity, it can even be elevated to the level of an enemy of life and death. This human being brought by the third lady must not be crazy. After a brief period of confusion, the glasses ghost reacted. He glanced at his brother who was lying on the ground completely dead, and then at Shen Jian, the culprit. There are 10,000 grass nema running through my heart. Human, you deserve to die today. The glasses ghost roared viciously and ignored the third lady. Supernatural fluctuations swept through his eyes, and the rimless glasses on his eyes suddenly ignited two ghost flames. Give them all to me. That ghost sword carries a curse. Every swing of the sword requires a price. If you kill my brother, that human being will pay a heavy price. His limbs will be eroded and destroyed. Hear this. A bit of surprise flashed in Shen Jian's eyes. His eyes suddenly fell on the other party's rimless glasses. At this time, after hearing the glasses ghost's words, 10 red-clad ghosts rushed forward immediately. Each of their fierce ghosts holds a ghost weapon in their hands. The overall terror is no less terrifying than the top red ones. Together, they can fight the Ghost King. However, Shen Jian then swung the knife. A red-clothed level devil fell down. Glasses ghost. Damn it! Shouldn't your limbs be useless? Why can I still wield a knife? Can the curse effect be fully exerted? Don't panic, I saw that the curse's supernatural power has eroded his entire lower body, and he can no longer move. Just saying. Shen Jian moved a step and swung the knife again. Glasses ghost. Grass. Can you give me some face when you step on the horse? You make it seem like I'm giving directions blindly. His eyes were splitting. The whole ghost was shaking. Why did it go wrong? His psychic ability allows him to gain insight into the enemy's weaknesses, negative effects, and specific statistics during battle. He saw that the ghost sword in this human's hand was very strange. Every time he swung the sword, he would be infected with a curse. The stronger the target group he attacked, the stronger the supernatural curse caused by swinging the sword. When he made the first stab, he saw that the supernatural curse had eroded the human's limbs, leaving them completely useless. But this human wields the knife. During the second stab, the supernatural curse eroded the entire lower body, which was paralysis. Yet the human moved. The third sword was swung, and this human being was technically dead. He couldn't understand. But it didn't stop him from continuing to shout, "Don't panic, the wrong data was reported just now, and now this human being is no longer able to swing the knife." The words fell. Shen Jian seemed to be responding to the other party. Gaga swung several knives. Dismembered a red-clad fierce ghost with one knife. In the eyes of the bespectacled ghost, Shen Jian's whole body was covered with supernatural curses. This supernatural curse is so strong that if it is placed on any abyss-level ghost, it will die to death. But this human being is not only alive, but also vigorous. No sign of erosion at all. This is simply a fantasy. Thoughts in confusion. He saw Shen Jian walking towards him step by step, with an intoxicating smile on his face. "You, human being, what do you want to do? I am the second lady's confidant. If you kill me, the second lady will not let you go." The glasses ghost panicked. Judging from the data, he couldn't stop this sword. He could only pull out the second lady to save his life. "But, we have a grudge, and I will take revenge. Isn't this the rule of the ghost world?" Shen Jian smiled kindly. "Glasses ghost? God is so vengeful. It was my brother who died. What kind of revenge did you take? Kill my brother first to create hatred, and then strike first to avoid being retaliated against, right? What the hell are you? It's so weird." At the end of his consciousness, he saw Shen Jian raising the ghost sword and cutting it down. Dog human. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 398. This moment. The entire market fell into a deathly silence. The ghost's eyes widened, watching the scene in disbelief. Some people dared to attack the manager here in the marketplace, and deliberately found trouble and beat the manager to death. The impact of this matter is too great. To put it mildly, this was an intentional homicide. Speaking more broadly, this is a supernatural place under the jurisdiction of the second lady of the vampire castle. Now it is in a critical period of fighting for the king's order, but the third lady brings a human to cause trouble. No matter how you look at it, this is vicious competition. It's breaking the rules. Or blatant destruction. If this matter was reported back to the vampire castle, the third lady in front of me would probably be eliminated. I don't know whether it's worth it or not to trade the death of 2 ghost kings and 10 red-clad ghosts in exchange for the elimination of 1 heir. The other side. The third young lady, Shang Guanwan, covered her face with her hands. Got into big trouble. She didn't expect Shen Jian to be so bold. Do it openly in the marketplace. Her original intention was to tell Shen Jian that this person was one of the targets, and to find an opportunity to quietly sap him away. Unexpectedly, Shen Jian understood that he should take action now. She didn't make it clear. But do ordinary people dare to do this in public? This human being is still too wanton and domineering. Think of this. She suddenly thought of what Shen Jian did to her last night, and suddenly she understood a little bit again. Without this courage, how could that human dare to come to her castle and possess her even after killing her husband? In her eyes, Shen Jian was originally such a domineering and unscrupulous figure. But in this case, everything that happens here cannot be hidden. After all, there are vendors everywhere. Everyone witnessed this happening. I can't hide it even if I want to. The third young lady, Shang Guanwanliu, frowned and said with some resentment, "Now that this is the case, you can't expect my people to help you hide the news. We can let the second sister stand on the same starting line as me, but as soon as the news is sent back, the eldest sister will advance one." Shen Jian grinned. What if there are no witnesses? Third Miss Shang Guanwan. She was slightly startled. After thinking about it for a while, I finally understood what Shen Jian meant. Red lips parted slightly. Somewhat shocked. This human being had this idea in mind. Yes, that's it. As long as there are no witnesses, no one will know that we did it. Shen Jian's smile became even brighter. He wants a market of 500 people and a management team of 50 people. Say it. Shen Jian continued to hold the knife. I came to a stall owner who didn't dare to move. This is an old man selling melons. Seeing Shen Jian approaching with a knife, a forced smile appeared on his face and he was trembling all over, but he didn't dare to run. If you don't run, you'll still be alive. If he ran away, he would be stabbed to death if he could not survive. As for the glasses ghost's analysis before he died, it was all bullshit. There is no sign of this human being being eroded by the curse. It's obviously too good to be good. This guest, does he want to buy melons? See this. Shen Jian also smiled very kindly, does this melon of yours stay ripe? The old man selling melons. What the hell, I'm not a god, I can still keep you safe. But think about it. He smiled and said, keep it ripe, this melon will definitely stay ripe. Laugh. The next second, Shen Jian raised the ghost sword and chopped it down. He cursed and said, keep it ripe? How dare you assume that I can keep it ripe? Plop. The old man selling melons died. Cause of death, assuming the melon was kept ripe. Do it all. Shen Jian looked at the stall next to him again. He is still a melon seller. It seems that he is in vicious competition. He would not agree to compete in front of everyone. Then, Shen Jian came to the stall next to him. The old woman selling melons immediately distanced herself from the stall next to her. Swallowing, guest, the melons here don't stay ripe. Laugh. Shen Jian stabbed him again. Melons can't be kept ripe. What if I buy back a raw melon egg? A profiteer and a risk-taker who defrauds consumers. Thump. The old woman selling melons died. Cause of death, selling raw melons and eggs. All the vendors. I'm crazy. You are really nothing. You have said both good and bad things. Aren't you just plain bad? They became more and more frightened. Looking at the human holding the knife, no one in the rows of street vendors dared to make a sound. I can only watch helplessly as that human being acts unscrupulously here. Such a scene is unimaginable. When did a human dare to be so arrogant in a market full of evil spirits? The humans who came here in the past were all groveling, licking their faces and smiling, lowering their eyebrows, or carefully disguising themselves. In this way, we still have to face their exploitation, price increases, and embarrassment from time to time. It can be said that in their eyes, human beings are such humble existences and can only survive in the cracks. It's a rat in the sewer. However, today, a mouse ran up and stood openly on their territory. They were so oppressed that they did not dare to resist. It was so humiliating. The ghosts lowered their heads, not daring to breathe. Afraid of being noticed by Shen Jian. Soon, Shen Jian came to a stall owner selling live animals. Look away. The bamboo cages and jars were crawling with 5 poisonous things. These living creatures are all infected by supernatural beings. The poison released can be called a supernatural toxin. Can affect evil spirits. I'm not a melon seller, I'm a snake seller. After witnessing 2 tragedies, the boss was obviously a lot smarter and explained things clearly as soon as he came up. You can't say whether the things you sell are cooked or not. Oh, the snake seller. Shen Jian glanced a few times. Does that mean you know how to catch snakes? You're kidding, I know a lot about it, okay. The snake seller boss is very confident. He was not afraid of Shen Jian asking about snake-related content. Because he does know a lot. Then let me ask you, if you use the poisonous snake's venom to poison the poisonous snake, will the poisonous snake be poisoned to death by the poisonous snake's poison? Snake seller boss. Hearing this jingle, he was stunned. What? What did this human being just say? The poison of the poisonous snake, the poison, is poisonous as hell. He didn't even remember how many poisons he mentioned in this paragraph, and was immediately stunned by Shen Jian. Why are you here taking my Chinese listening test to level 10? Think of this. The snake seller's face was suddenly covered with cold sweat. What the hell is this horse riding problem? It was obviously related to snakes, why didn't he understand? Laugh. Shen Jian slashed it with his sword. The cautious snake seller died. Cause of death, failed to pass set -10 in Chinese listening. Shen Jian rushed to the next place. No, brother, I was passing by on the road. Laugh. Shen Jian stabbed him down. A passing ghost dies. Cause of death, passing by. No, brother, I wasn't passing by. You just looked at me. Say it. Shen Jian stabbed him again. Aim at people and ghosts, die. Cause of death, aiming at a person's seam. At this time, the market was in chaos. All the vendors and passers-by saw it. This human being is not looking for trouble with the managers here, but is looking for trouble with the entire marketplace. Everyone is within range of his attack. Got this? The scene suddenly became chaotic. Vendors scrambled to escape one by one. This huge commotion attracted the attention of the forces behind the second miss of the vampire castle, and they dispatched managers to suppress the troublemakers. The leader is also a ghost king. And 20 guards in fine armor. Rescue is coming. Is this okay? No, I feel like there's no chance of winning. It's probably not enough to kill that human with just a few cuts. Master ghosts and gods, please protect the guards here to hold on, at least, hold on until we can escape first. Before they faced each other head-on, a group of street vendor owners carrying bags on their backs in the corner had already started shouting, frantically damaging the morale of the defenders. The leader of the Ghost King was so angry that his expression became twisted and ferocious. Humanity. This group of opportunistic vendors are still trash. It is a shame for them to be so afraid of a human being. If a human comes to cause trouble, I will suppress him in 10 seconds. The Ghost King who came to support held his breath and shouted suddenly. The terrifying yin qi erupted. Just like that, we rushed towards the most chaotic part of the market. As the Ghost King, I should suppress all enemies. Finished this sentence. His own momentum has reached its peak. Even if he encounters an abyss-level Ghost King, he dares to rush forward and deal damage first. Then, the next second, his eyes were filled with dazzling golden thunder. The whole world seemed to be filled with only golden light. The golden thunder was like spreading spider webs, shooting out at a speed that could not be detected by the naked eye. In a trance, he saw a human being walking out of a world filled with golden thunder in the distance, covered in arcs of electricity. There is also an ancient ghost knife in his hand. The moment he looked into that human's eyes, his heart was shocked. I saw that the human's pupils were filled with the golden color that appeared and disappeared, exuding a brilliant power of heaven, and every move he made seemed as if the gods were punishing the world. A divine punishment, symbolizing destruction, was sent down. God be damned, how could they offend such a terrifying existence? Thump. He knelt down directly. I knew he was no match, but I didn't expect him to surrender immediately. Nima, you are really useless. It's just that the slogans were shouted so loudly, but I didn't expect that they were being suppressed. I misjudged the person. I thought he would be a hard-blooded man. The surrounding vendors began to criticize. Ghost King. He gritted his teeth. He turned around and glanced at the stall owners who had already knelt down before him. How could you dare to talk so hard about me? This moment, the whole place was silent. Seeing Shen Jian, who was like a god coming to the world, surrounded by golden thunder, they did not dare to move. Even the guards who came for support were stunned after seeing this scene. Damn it! No one told them that they were going to play the peak match today. Then, they also knelt down. Further away, the stall owner who had already escaped some distance looked at the scene of golden thunder reflecting the sky in the distance with a horrified expression. Even my courage was almost scared out of my mind. Damn it! Damn it! What the hell is this? Even from a distance here, they could detect the brilliant power of heaven emitted by the golden thunder, and the destructive fluctuations filled the marketplace. They saw that the hair of some fierce ghost stood up. There is an invisible electric arc spreading in the air. This is so scary. He is simply not human. Fortunately they ran fast, otherwise the outcome would never have been much better. However, next moment, they couldn't be happier. Because of the exit, a beautiful-looking woman wearing a rose skirt was standing there. That is the third lady of the vampire castle. A ghost king. Grass. This couple of dogs. I recommend this book. If you are interested, you can check it out. The link is attached. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 400. Carefree. Shen Jian just felt that he was extremely high now. There are at least 500 ghosts in a southern market, and the ghosts who can open stalls here and sell items have a terror level above the red level. After excluding a small number of Xingyi level and even white level weaklings, the number of red level ghosts he harvested in this trip was also upwards of 400. It can be called a great harvest. If the same is true for other supernatural places under their jurisdiction, just by capturing all the marketplaces at the foot of the vampire castle, the harvest will not be much worse than that of Nanli Ghost Town. Only adding the top ghost king of the vampire castle, it is conservatively estimated that this trip will yield the achievements of 2 ghosts and gods. Think of this. The smile on Shen Jian's face could no longer be concealed. He took one step forward. Golden thunder lingered, and the ghost sword in his hand seemed to be rendered into a golden sword. The aura was so terrifying that the stall owners, market guards, and passers-by were all trembling with fear. He, business is good, go and do business with me. Although everything is in vain, you can help build a city. You are not alone. Shen Jian smiled. What he said was of course a waste of time. The predecessor of Fuzi City was an ink painting city in the scroll world. Because he used them all to throw them into the 18th level of hell, the city of death is now empty. In his plan, the city of vain death is equally important. But the importance comes after the 6 paths of reincarnation reappear and the underworld and the yang world are completely opened up. At that time, the underworld had completely returned to what it was like in the period of myths and legends. A large number of souls who had died in vain entered the gate of hell every day. Only then would the usefulness of the city in vain be revealed. Fortunately, it's not urgent yet. It's just right for these vendors to start construction first. Not long after. The whole market is still angry, no matter men, women, young or old, even a 90-year-old old lady, he has to put a sack on it. Do it all. Shen Jian smiled happily. Cut it from head to tail, leaving no ghost alive. Now he finally understood a line from a movie he had seen. Then, I held 2 watermelon knives in my hands and started killing all the way from Nantianmen to Penglai East Road. Shen Jian felt that his current state was similar. A ghost knife, killing people all the way. Cut all the way from the market entrance to the end of the street. This is Chenhanan, the underworld. Shen Jian clicked his tongue. Take back the ghost knife. At this time, third Miss Shang Guanwan also ended the battle and returned here. Rows of ghosts were hanging on the blooming rose vines behind her. After handing these evil spirits to Shen Jian, the third lady looked at the deserted market. Although she was mentally prepared, she was still shocked. To be able to single-handedly deal with more than 500 ghosts in the entire market, this kind of strength is not even possible for abyss-level ghosts. Only a top ghost king like her grandfather can do it. Think of this. The third young lady Shang Guanwan looked at Shen Jian. Is this human being comparable to her grandfather and the strongest man in the vampire castle? Back then, if there had been a top ghost king standing behind her to support her, today's outcome would have been different. She will become the heir of the vampire castle without any suspense. No one can stop it. This is the weight of a top ghost king. This place has been destroyed by you. If the supernatural land under my jurisdiction just has problems that can no longer be controlled, then my second sister's place is completely ruined. She has been eliminated. Third Miss Shang Guanwan said seriously. No, there's another place. Shen Jian looked into the distance. Stride away. The third lady saw this and followed closely behind. Soon, the two came to a mansion. The sound of hammering was heard continuously. This is the blacksmith shop. That's right, this place is covered by a ghost realm, and the people inside don't know what's going on in the outside world. Shen Jian nodded. 7 ghost eyes opened. The scarlet ghost realm spreads. Shen Jian walked in. According to the third lady Shang Guanwan, there are more than 50 management team members in Nanbian Market, the most important of which is not only the glasses guy, but also a craftsman. It is also infinitely close to the abyss level. Its strength is more terrifying than the glasses ghost. How could he miss such a ghost king? Next to an iron stove, dozens of ghost apprentices gathered together, studying how to build a ghost weapon. Look focused and serious. While analyzing, he adjusted the pig iron he forged. I understand, I understand. I also understand that pig iron needs to be made like this in order to carry supernatural power. I don't know how serious it is, but the senior brothers are right. The ghosts looked on with surprise. At this time, a voice sounded. Oh! How to make it into a ghost weapon? What's the magic in it? Shen Jian became interested and squeezed into the center of the Ligui apprentice. A strange human face suddenly squeezed into the crowd of fierce ghosts, which seemed particularly inconsistent. However, maybe because of too serious research, no ghost noticed anything strange for a while. No, brother, you are not savvy enough. Hearing Shen Jian's words, a fierce ghost who was about to show off looked at Shen Jian arrogantly, and was about to speak, but suddenly discovered something abnormal about Shen Jian. Brothers, when you wear a human leather jacket, you really look like a human when riding a horse. Even the smell is the same. There's something strange about him. This kind of creature is really just like humans. If he hadn't known that no humans could come in here, there might have been a misunderstanding. I feel so too. Shen Jian nodded seriously. Subsequently, Li Gui, who was about to show off, began to explain to Shen Jian, the reason why a ghost weapon is because the blood of Li Gui, or even a part of the body, is added to it. The weapons made in this way can naturally carry our power. And even if a complete ghost can be integrated into it, the ghost weapon will also have special supernatural effects. Although humans can also use ghost weapons, every time they use them, they will be eroded by the supernatural. If you use a ghost weapon forged by incorporating an entire ghost, every time you use it, it is equivalent to facing the ghost's supernatural power. Attack. But we are different. Because of the same origin, the effects of supernatural attacks on us will be greatly reduced. Look at that senior brother, he is bleeding and merging right now. Following what the other party said, Shen Jian looked. Beside the iron furnace, a tall and powerful blacksmith took out a bottle of ghost blood and poured it on the knife. At once, the flames in the iron furnace seemed to be out of control. A sudden surge. Will-o'-the-wisps even spread. It is about to burn to the surrounding apprentices. No, the temperature of this will-o'-the-wisp is too high. If it continues to burn, it will burn us to death. We must use extremely low temperature water to extinguish the will-o'-the-wisp. Shen Jian was a little panicked and said the only solution. The figure is withdrawing and retreating. You want water? This is not easy. I am a water ghost. Hearing Shen Jian's words, the water ghost's face lit up. The supernatural spreads. Dirty water gushes out. Poured into the iron furnace. Then, the next second, boom! There was a shocking big explosion. The iron furnace exploded on the spot. More than a dozen apprentices were affected by the big explosion. He lay on the ground and screamed miserably. Ghosts! Damn it! What happened? In the black smoke, the blacksmith also roared. Which bastard poured the water? Don't you know that high temperatures cannot be in direct contact with cold water? Water ghost. He looked at Shen Jian in the distance with resentful eyes. Then he suddenly noticed that the person who had just spoken was actually a human. Humanity. At this time, the other ghosts also noticed Shen Jian, the uninvited guest. They confirmed it several times. This is really a human being. Rather than a ghost wearing a human suit. Human? Did I let this human fool me? The water ghost is somewhat doubtful about life. Snapped. Li Gui, who helped Shen Jian explain at first, slapped him on the head. You're right, we were indeed fooled. Water ghost? Grass. Then go and confront him. Beat me up? Human, you are looking for death. The blacksmith was so angry that the ghost weapon he had worked so hard to forge exploded just because of Shen Jian's words. He was just about to step forward. An old man wearing battle armor had already walked out of the inner room. Shen Jian looked around. A bit of excitement flashed in his eyes. If you guessed correctly, this should be the ghost craftsman. The level of terror is indeed approaching the abyss level. Especially the armor he wore, the supernatural fluctuations were very obvious. It gave him a feeling that not even the abyss-level ghosts could shake. Human, what do you want to do by sneaking into my ghost realm? Why can't I sense other people's breath outside? The ghost craftsman came out. He is tall, nearly 2 meters tall. The armor on his body gives people an indestructible feeling. There was deep suspicion on his face. When the ghost realm was invaded just now, he should have appeared immediately. The reason why he was a little slow was because he suddenly realized that there was no supernatural fluctuation at all in the market. It's like it's empty. The other side. Why did the master take out the treasure he kept at the bottom of the box? That's right. On weekdays, we don't even have a chance to see the baby because it's so precious. I didn't expect to wear it today. Could it be that you want to deal with that human? Don't make trouble. With the master's terrifying level and the set of ghost weapons and armor, his strength is not bad among a group of abyss-level ghosts. There is no need to make such preparations to deal with a human. This group of evil apprentices talks to each other. Hear this. Shen Jian also showed some obvious interest on his face. Think about it. He took out a black steel rod. Without saying a word, he hit it. Try this pudong cock. The rapid force crashed down, creating a violent hurricane. The air along the way seemed to be squeezed, making a sound like an explosion. Ghost craftsman? Damn it! You call this a normal attack? Play with me, right? He was shocked. If the stick had been a real blow, he would probably have died on the spot. However, Shen Jian's speed was too fast. The moment he finished speaking, the stick smashed over. The souls of ghost craftsmen are all gone. He could only raise his armor-covered arm to block the attack. Boom! There was a loud bang. The smoke cleared. The ghost craftsman stood with his hands behind his back. He said calmly, "Yes, human being, it took me 30% of my strength to catch the stick you just struck. I appreciate you very much." While talking, the arms behind his back kept shaking. Grandma drops. Broken. His hand was absolutely broken. He was really hummed. This human was so powerful that he smashed his hand with a stick. If it hit other places, he would probably die on the spot. Must hold steady now. The ghost craftsman endured the severe pain and kept giving himself hints in his heart. No, you can't panic, you must be steady. The key is to scare this human being. See it? The interest in Shen Jian's eyes became even greater. Grinning, "Great, I was afraid of sending you away with a stick just now, so I restrained myself a little and only used less than half of my strength. Now it seems that I can increase my strength to half of it." Ghost craftsman. Damn it! Less than half? You're a humming better blower than me. Pretended. It must be pretending. He tried his best to block this human's blow at the cost of losing his hands. Now others told him that he only used less than half of his strength. Who believes it? This human was definitely scamming him. The competition now is who is better at pretentiousness. Think so? The ghost craftsman laughed sinisterly. "Hurt me? You are such an innocent human being. Can you try to hit me with a stick again? If I make a move, I will take your last name today. On the contrary, you have gained my approval. If you leave now, I will not hold you responsible." As soon as these words came out, Shen Jian has not responded yet. The apprentice blacksmith on the side was not happy. "Master, you can't let this human go." "That's right. This human being broke into this place and has a plan to kill himself. Now that he has attacked you, Master, he has committed a heinous crime. We cannot let him go. Yes, we must kill him and use his body to refine ghost weapons." All the apprentices were filled with indignation. They all denounced it. Little did I know. At this time, the ghost craftsman's eyes were about to burst. I wish I could shoot these people to death on the spot. What the hell is the dog called? The top priority now is to send this human away. It seems that your apprentices don't want me to leave, so I'll give them another blow. Shen Jian's lips curled up. Yin energy poured into the black steel rod. Then it crashed down. This time, Shen Jian deliberately selected the chest area where the most supernatural resistance was concentrated. Boom! There was a loud bang. The smoke cleared. The ghost craftsman still stood proudly, with his hands behind his back. "How about this stick?" Shen Jian observed the ghost weapon and found that the armor on the ghost craftsman's chest had been pierced, but the rest of the body was still strong. The ghost craftsman lowered his head. No one could tell how he reacted. Judging from the twitching of his body, he had a great reaction. "Yeah, it's not that, so." Finished. The ghost craftsman collapsed. His eyes have turned white. Fell into deep sleep. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Bulletin Chigua. Chapter 401. Chapter 399. Not working these days. I don't know how long it took. The ghost craftsman suddenly opened his eyes. There was slight shock in his eyes. Is he okay? He remembered that he wanted to frighten the human being and let him try it if he had the ability. Unexpectedly, the human being really listened to the advice and actually took action against him. A stick hit the armor on his chest. It also shattered all his confidence. His ghost weapon battle armor was built with a lifetime of hard work, and a bit of luck was added to it. It was a treasure on weekdays. If he hadn't seen that Shen Jian's arrival was not good today, he wouldn't have treated it like this. Wear it out. But he wouldn't have thought that a ghost weapon that could withstand even a blow from the top Ghost King would be pierced by that human stick. After he was unconscious. I thought I had no chance of supernatural recovery, but I didn't expect to wake up so soon. You're awake. Aside. Shen Jian's calm and indifferent voice sounded. The ghost craftsman immediately became excited. Get up on the spot. He said calmly, human, is this all your attack? It is said that you use half of your strength, but in fact you use your full strength. But even so, it still doesn't pose any threat to me. Said. The ghost craftsman stood with his hands behind his back. The demeanor of a master. Shen Jian. He looked at the ghost craftsman in front of him with great interest. He raised his eyebrows and said, in other words, you want to see my full strength. Ha ha ha, didn't you just use your full strength? I have already said that you can try it with all your strength. If I hum, I will lose. While talking, Ghost Craftsman looked at Shen Jian's eyes. Grass. You must not let this human being see that he is strong on the outside but weak on the inside, otherwise everything will be over. Master, you have actually been sleeping for an hour just now. At this time, a water ghost apprentice couldn't bear to expose it. As soon as these words came out, it's like causing a chain reaction. The other apprentices also muttered something. Awesome. Master is very good at showing off. Indeed, if I hadn't witnessed the scene where the master was break-dancing on his face, I would have thought that the master had a chance to win. In the world of showmanship, I think the master has a chance to compete for first place. Hear these words. Ghost Craftsman. His calm expression suddenly became stiff. Break your own defenses. What? He's been in slumber for an hour? So long? Then why didn't this human being completely shut him down? Besides, God is break-dancing on his face. That hurt. The corner of his mouth twitched. At this time, Shen Jian had already taken out the black steel rod again. His biggest advantage is that he listens to advice selectively. It turns out that the master craftsman in front of him wants to use all his strength, so he can just let him do it, and he can just wait a little longer. He has plenty of time and is not afraid of wasting it. Stand still and don't move. This time I really try my best. I promise I won't let you down. Shen Jian looked serious. Ghost Craftsman. No. Seriously. You know I'm faking it, so why are you taking it seriously? If this stick goes down, he won't be able to wake up completely. Think of this. The ghost craftsman swallowed furiously. But the body still stood up honestly. Today, the head can be cut off, the blood can be shed, but the face cannot be lost. Even if you can't resist, you have to fight to the death. Shen Jian's face was expressionless. Take one step forward. Thump. The ghost craftsman opposite immediately knelt down. Wait, human, I'm convinced, I'm completely convinced. The ghost craftsman immediately kowtowed. No longer stubborn. Apprentices? No. Master, didn't you look so meaningless just now, as if you would rather die than surrender? Your attitude change doesn't require any mental decision, right? The ghost craftsman looked disdainful. He. Did he really think he would save face and resist an attack that he couldn't resist? Do his apprentices think too highly of his master? Your Majesty, your strength reaches the sky. As the saying goes, there is no one before and no one will come after. I admire you endlessly. If you don't give up, the craftsman is willing to worship him as his master, and he will be at his disposal from now on. The ghost craftsman kneeling on the ground said sincerely. Hear this. Shen Jian took back the black steel rod and said quietly, you have a bright mind. See this. The ghost craftsman looked happy. Knowing that I can survive. Then. He immediately shouted to the apprentices who were watching the show, what are you still doing? Call me master. Look at your sharp eyesight, you will never be able to eat 8 dishes in your lifetime. All apprentices. Their facial muscles twitched. Somewhat unbearable. What the hell, master, your vision is just to choose a new master. The subject or a human being. If this spreads out, they won't be able to hold their heads high in the future. Just thinking about it? The water ghost knelt down with a plop. He said with emotion, Master. Everyone? If they remembered correctly, the person who hated Shen Jian the most was the water ghost. After all, it was because of Shen Jian's instigation that the other party did the operation of pouring cold water on the high-temperature iron furnace. Never thought about it? The first person to be so shameless was this person. The water ghost curled his lips, and his eyes seemed to say, this time, that time. Immediately afterwards, the second ghost also knelt down. It was the Li Gui who had answered Shen Jian's question before. Since all the water ghosts are kneeling, then I will kneel down too. Thump. Since you two are also kneeling, it's a good thing that we make 3, not the golden iron triangle. Odd numbers change from even numbers to unchanged. This shows that even numbers are the truth. If I add one more number, it will be a contribution to the digital cause. Me, I'm uneducated, so I'll just kneel down. Me too. Add 1. Add 1. Hello, master. In less than 5 seconds, all the ghosts were on their knees. Shen Jian ignored these, pointed at the ghost craftsman, and asked, did you forge this armor? Right. Can it be built again? It depends on luck, but if you can advance to the abyss level ghost, it will be much easier. The ghost craftsman answered truthfully. After listening, a smile appeared on Shen Jian's face. Very good, you can work for me from now on and be responsible for refining something for me. I said a few words briefly. Shen Jian walked out of the blacksmith shop. This trip was worth it. Not only was it the harvest of more than 400 red-clad ghosts, it was also because of the ghost craftsman. The other party has the ability to create ghost weapons. The level is extremely high. It is also among the best among the blacksmiths in Nanjiang district. Converted into a ghost doctor profession, it is basically the strongest echelon below famous doctors. Such a ghost craftsman is in great need of the underworld. Today's underworld facilities are not yet complete. In addition to Huangquan Road, he also needs Nehi Bridge, Wangxiang Terrace, Sansheng Stone, Menpo Soup, etc. Some of the 3 life stones cannot be copied. He already had some ideas about Mengpo Tang's words. But he could not find substitutes for Nehi Bridge and Wangxiang Terrace. That being the case, then he can only build it himself. Then blend it into the ghost corpse to turn it into a real underworld construction. And this requires the use of ghost craftsmen. Exit the blacksmith shop. You look happy. The third young lady, Shang Guanwan, was waiting outside. He leaned against the wall. The back is covered with roses. It gives people a feeling that although it is very charming, it feels like a rose with thorns. Once you get close, it can easily prick your hands. Shen Jian smiled and said. He put his arms around the pretty widow. Pull it to you. Fu Er said, it's all because of your efforts that I solved this troublesome matter. What reward do you want? Hear this. The third young lady, Shang Guanwan, blushed slightly at first, and then her figure began to twist unconsciously. Being hugged openly by a man other than your husband in public is simply defiling traditional thinking and an impact on secular concepts. Although she is the third young lady of the vampire castle, she unexpectedly abides by the rules in this regard, otherwise she would not have shared a room with her husband for more than 10 years. Let alone a matter of husband and wife, the other party has never even stepped into her room. This was the first time that she was hugged by a man in the street. She stretched out her hand and put it on Shen Jian's chest to prevent him from getting closer. However, her coquettish posture seemed to suggest that she was welcoming but refusing. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. He pulled the third lady in front of him and put his arms around her waist. He looked at her with burning eyes. Being stared at by Shen Jian's burning eyes, the third lady Shang Guanwan felt a little greedy and a little shy as she sniffed the burning yang energy emanating from this man. Eyes evasive. I should be the one thanking you for this today. Struggling slightly for a few seconds. Seeing that this man had no intention of letting go, and thinking that this place was empty and no one would notice the scene, she gradually gave up her resistance. Let your body be close to this man's. Enjoying this seemingly absurd, but unexpectedly intoxicating warmth. You want to reward me? Think about it. Shen Jian didn't refute. Instead, he followed her words and said ambiguously, Madam, tonight I. No, this can't be done, at least not for these 2 days. Just by hearing the beginning, the third young lady Shang Guanwan knew what she wanted to mention and shook her head in a hurry. Then he stretched out his jade hand and pinched Shen Jian's wrist on her waist. What are you going to do next? After calming down for a while, the third lady Shang Guanwan asked. The supernatural place under the jurisdiction of the second sister has been destroyed by you. The news here will spread throughout the entire vampire castle in less than 2 days, and all suspicions will be focused on me and the eldest sister. If you want to take action, you'd better take advantage of the news to spread in the past few days, otherwise once it is exposed. Speaking of which, she was stunned for a moment. What happens if you are exposed? It was nothing more than being known that she had done it. But Shen Jian is a top ghost king comparable to her grandfather. How many people in the entire vampire castle are his opponents? Even if he is exposed, it doesn't seem to matter. Think about it. Third Miss Shang Guanwan continued, you can figure it out yourself. Within 2 days, the news here will spread. If you want to take action on the supernatural place under my eldest sister's jurisdiction, these 2 days are the best time. The resistance encountered not too big. Shen Jian nodded. I also have some thoughts in my heart. How is your relationship with your eldest and second sister? Why do you ask this? Third Miss Shang Guanwan was a little confused, but still explained a little calmly, the relationship between us was still very good before the fight for the king's order. After all, the 3 of us are the best of this generation. Vampires with potential and sisters, how can their relationship be bad? But once Grandpa's order to fight for the king comes out, even if we don't want to fight, the forces behind us will force us to compete. Competition will inevitably involve swords, and the relationship will naturally deteriorate. Sometimes I wonder, if it hadn't been for this king's order, the 3 of us would still be very close sisters. Shen Jian did not respond. Although in the horror world, ghosts devour each other and attacks occur from time to time, the order issued by the vampire castle to fight for the king is obviously harmful rather than beneficial. It encourages brothers and sisters to kill each other. This bad habit must be banned. What a beautiful family of 3 sisters, how they were torn apart. The former city lord of Nanjiang district was really a wicked person. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 402. On the way back to Rose Manor, Shen Jian listened to the news about the former Nanjiang city lord, the top ghost king of the vampire castle. According to the third lady Shang Guanwan, She didn't know much. All we know is that after the battle with the mysterious top Ghost King, Grandpa disappeared completely. He was suspected of being severely injured and fell into dormancy. But the specific location was not something she, a down-and-out heir who stayed at Rose Castle all year round, knew. If you want to know this, you have to ask the second lady and the eldest lady. Think of this. Shen Jian quickened his pace. The former Nanjiang city lord was his biggest target during this trip. The quality of a top-notch ghost king who is comparable to ghosts and gods cannot be compared to the red-clothed ghosts from one or two marketplaces. If he is missed, no matter how many red-clad ghosts are caught, the harvest will not be too great. Soon, Shen Jian returned to Rose Manor. A message on the chat interface attracted his attention. Young Master Ye at King Yama, Boss Yama, something bad has happened. The second lady here has found out about your affairs. She is furious and wants you to come over to the restaurant right now. Saw this message. Shen Jian's eyes moved. Just right. He also wanted to find this second lady. Then, Shen Jian changed direction. Not long after, Shen Jian has arrived at the restaurant. At this time, 12 players stood aside tremblingly. Saw Shen Jian appear. There was a bit of pity on everyone's faces. As a housekeeper, it was a serious dereliction of duty to not show up in time to serve these vampires during their mealtime. Such a serious mistake would actually happen to a 4-star player. Is this too much touted? Have you forgotten that you are just a human? In the real world, Shen Jian's actions will not have any impact, and people who want to curry favor will not care about this trivial matter. But this is a 4-star dungeon, a vampire castle, and even the territory of a fierce ghost. There is only one outcome for doing this, and that is death. The kind that dies without a burial place. Young Master Ye, Yama, this is all the fault of Chang Kong. He was the one who spread the word about your absence in order not to be punished. Shen Jian quickly figured out what happened. Because he was a new servant, the player with the ID Chang Kong didn't know the eating habits of the second lady of the vampire castle. He served a dish of cuisine that the other party didn't like. In order to avoid responsibility, he blamed him for the matter. On the head. He thought that as a housekeeper, he did not investigate all this in advance, which offended the second lady. Then, there is the current scene. Shen Jian glanced at Chang Kong, who lowered his head and remained silent, his eyes still as usual. You are the new butler. At this time, a slightly mean voice sounded. Shen Jian looked up. On a dining table more than 10 meters long, a woman in a black dress sat there. The woman looked to be about 30 years old and was wearing a black dress made of lace. The skirt had an obvious personal style. Her long chestnut hair is slightly curled. She gives the impression of a sharp, strong, and unreasonable aristocratic lady. But the terrifying yin-chi fluctuations that belong to the Ghost King level exuded from her body all prove that she is not just relying on her status to show off her power, but she has the capital to show off her ruthlessness. Shen Jian's eyes moved. Second Miss of the Vampire Castle Shangguan 11. Current level, Ghost King. Introduction. Because Zheng Wanling became increasingly irritable and believed that her own background could not defeat her eldest sister, she suffered from severe mental pressure and suffered from physical and mental problems. Her cowardly husband did not dare to look at her directly, causing her to develop strong feelings. She felt remorseful and thought that she could divorce her husband like her eldest sister. Current status, irritable, angry, depressed. Favorability, -80, murderous intent. Are you deaf? Servant, I'm asking you a question. Seeing that Shen Jian didn't respond, the second lady Shangguan 11 had a ferocious look on her face. Eyes turned scarlet. The fangs also gradually appeared. A gust of dark wind blew out of thin air. The surrounding temperature has become much colder. See this. The souls of all the players are at risk. Everyone looked at Shen Jian in horror. Damn it! What the hell are you doing? It's okay if there is a dereliction of duty. Now that I know that the second young lady is in a bad mood, but I still don't try hard to show off, is this really because I'm tired of living and want to die? Forget it if you die. Don't bother us too much. Everyone was sweating profusely, and their heads hung lower. For fear that the second young lady would find an opportunity, she would be killed as well. That would be such an injustice. As for Shenjian, he is dead. It is normal to continuously offend this second young lady who seems to have entered menopause and to be cut into pieces. Really? Internet images and reality are two different worlds. How much does the supernatural forum praise Shenjian? The gap is huge now. Not to mention taking them to lie down together, just don't bother them now. The other side. Shenjian looked at the favorability panel and clicked his tongue. 80 points of favorable opinion is rare. Right now, this second young lady is already at the point of explosion. The current state is full of negative emotions. It's basically impossible to get a good impression. Think about it. Shenjian responded, "Second miss, I just went to find out about your eating habits, but because third miss was busy, I went out with her and didn't come back in time." Hear this. The second young lady Shangguan 11, who was originally furious, immediately frowned. The rising anger was slightly suppressed. He looked Shenjian up and down. I have to say, this human being is very eye-catching. Much more pleasing to the eye than her cowardly husband. But other than that, it seems to be unremarkable. Third sister, let this human being go out with her? Suspicion flashed across the face of the second young lady, Shangguan 11. Is it possible that her third sister is still planning to participate in the fight for the king's order and is trying to win over this human being? Think of this. She narrowed her eyes. This may not be a bad thing. Her background cannot compete with her eldest sister. Once the king's order is over, she will completely lose. But if a third sister is added to the mix, they may not be able to defeat the eldest sister if they join forces. At that time, she will be the winner of the battle for the king's order. And this human being will be her undercover agent who infiltrates the third sister. Then, she put down the cutlery in her hands. He stood up and said, "Human, come here and follow me back to the room." While talking, the second young lady went to Guan 11 and licked her lips gently. There was an abnormal blush on his face. It was as if I saw something delicious. "Follow me, I want to taste you carefully." "See it?" Shenjian followed without hesitation. "Gongzi, yeah, boss, you can't go there even if you fail the main mission and be transported to the so-called ghost city, it is better than facing a real ghost king." Shenjian glanced over. I saw the wax-haired young man with his head lowered and winking, trying to persuade him to run away now. If you escape, you will fail the mission. With Shenjian's strength, he can definitely protect himself in the ghost town. Not escaping is equivalent to facing a ghost king. It is already obvious which one has the greater chance of survival. Unfortunately, Shenjian just glanced at it, pretended he didn't see it, and left directly. Until the two figures disappeared. Only then did the 12 players in the restaurant raise their heads. A look of relief on his face. Saved. This was probably the most brutal 4-star copy they had ever experienced. Face to face with a ghost king who is about to become angry. The extremely terrifying supernatural fluctuations still make them frightened to this day. Horrifying. He's finished. At this time, I don't know which player started it first. Everyone on the field fell into silence. There is a sense of sadness that the rabbit will die and the dog will be cooked. So what about 4-star players, so what do they do in the real world? Once they enter a copy of the thriller game, they are no better than 1-star or 2-star players. At most, they have the ability to choose their own way of death. Is Shenjian already very strong? The popularity of the supernatural forum is unparalleled. Suspected of transforming himself into an alien. Possessing strength comparable to that of a ghost king. Among the 4-star players, they are already the top group. But what's the result? Because of one mistake, he was sentenced to death. A 4-star player is just a stronger ant in the horror game copy. What's even more despairing is that there's no end in sight. After the 4-star dungeon, there is also the legendary 5-star dungeon. If you want to be free, I'm afraid it can only be achieved by complete death. Think of this. All the players looked gloomy. Young Master Ye even pointed the finger at the player with the ID Chang Kong, gritted his teeth and said, "Without the boss, we have lost the final guarantee. What happens next, we can only leave it to fate." Apparently. Even if he believed in Shen Jian, he still didn't think that Shen Jian could escape from the hands of a ghost king. This is the vampire's castle after all. In addition to the second lady, there are many ghost king level vampires. How could Shen Jian alone break out of the confines of a supernatural place? Even if he doesn't die, the end will probably be miserable. The half-hundred-year-old man with the ID of Chang Kong said in a hoarse and low voice, "The dead Taoist friend is not dead to the poor Taoist. This is his mistake. I just caught this flaw. Don't tell me that you didn't design anything in the thriller game other players. I just did what I thought I could do to save myself. I am right. Young Master Ye, hey, I'm not as shameless as you. You'd better pray that something happens to the boss, otherwise you will be dead as soon as he comes back." Finished. He turned and left. The other players saw this and did not participate in this dispute. Only the player with the ID Chang Kong was left standing there, with a hint of gloom and murderous intent on his face. The other side. Shen Jian had already followed the second young lady Shang Guan 11 to a living room. There is no one here. It was eerily quiet. "Human, do you know? I can kill you at any time, but I am merciful and decide to give you a chance to live, and a chance for you to serve me. This will be your greatest honor." The second young lady, Shang Guan 11, sat cross-legged on the sofa. A dog leash was thrown out casually. "Put it on, from now on, you are my dog."